Hello, everyone. Today I am going to be giving albeit quite brief, but succinct, hopefully, review and thoughts on the new collaborative album by superstar legend Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, who is also a legend in his own right in the big band classical jazz contemporary style. So I am going into this not a jazz fan. I've never really covered that kind of genre on this channel before. Obviously, I'm a Lady Gaga fan, so that is why I am going to be reviewing this project. This is not, of course, Lady Gaga's first time collaborating with Tony Bennett. Back in 2014, they released Cheek to Cheek, which was a compendium of covers of the Great American Songbook, but it was also a bunch of different composers. It wasn't just one. That this time around, they have chosen to focus on one composer, and that is Cole Porter, who was a very popular 1920s and 30s songwriter and composer. A lot of his hits were, carried off over into Broadway, and artists like Ethel Merman and other greats like Ella Fitzgerald have covered his songs very famously. So he has become a big mainstay in the Great American Songbook, and it was a love of Tony's and Gaga's that they wanted to, dedicate this album to him and his work. So all the songs are, because of that, covers, and so I will not be going so deeply into the lyrical content, as these are all like staple songs that I've heard a few before. I think I'd heard Let's Do It before. And, I'm not a big Broadway or a big jazz fan, as I've said before, and I'm just not familiar with a lot of that sort of era of music. I'm sorry, I'm a millennial slash Zoomer gay. I can confess that I just don't have that sort of musical knowledge. But the reason why I'm covering this record is because I have such a deep appreciation for it nonetheless. Lady Gaga is very upfront in the description of this record, talking about how she really does not want to see jazz music die out with the older generation. She views it as something that is full of heart and full of soul and warmth, that has real artistry behind it in its craft and in the lyrical content. And I agree, I'm not such a big fan of jazz that is more a melodic and what I would consider more elevator music. Jazz that, you kind of consider to be, I think scat is kind of the term for jazz that's a little bit more like that, improvised and just, going off on a saxophone. I've never been a big fan of that. But when you actually have a composed jazz tune, they can be so catchy. They can have such heart and such class to them that you can't help but feel good or smile at some of the tunes. And especially with, the gorgeous production and the gorgeous vocal pairing of Tony and Gaga here together, you're in for a real treat. Especially, even if this isn't your kind of music, I recommend, or if you have not already, just give it a listen to a few songs. You might not like all of them. Trust me, I'm not a huge fan of all of them. That doesn't mean that I don't like any of them. It's just there are only a few that I'm going to really seek out and listen to, like, repeatedly. Some of them are just going to get lost in the mix. And I hate to say it, but a few of them, there are two songs that Tony sings completely solo on. Those are definitely not huge favorites of mine. I think, unfortunately, vocally, Lady Gaga kicks Tony way out of the water. I mean, you have to be honest, this man is 95 years old, and unfortunately, he is now suffering from dementia. I believe he was diagnosed in 2016, so it's been almost 5 years now, which I had not realized it had been so long that he had had that diagnosis. And so it was very important that, for Gaga and for Tony, and all involved with Tony's life, to try and get this album completed, as apparently right after Cheek to Cheek went, and got released, Tony called her up back in 2014 and said, I want to make a Cole Porter album with you. I want to do album number 2. Like, this was so much fun. Lady Gaga and Tony's friendship is probably some of the purest in the music industry. I think that Tony has been such a rock solid, dependable man in her life, considering, relationships and other things have gone a little sour. Other relationships with labels and executives in the industry have not gone so well either. And so I think Tony is someone that Gaga just really not only admires, but depends on and confides in the industry. And so she is always going to be down for that phone call to make this record. I believe that this record was actually recorded several years ago, as unfortunately, I do not think that Tony would have been quite able to record this within the last couple years due to, unfortunately, the advancement of his Alzheimer's. However, they did just recently do a special concert in promotion, which was kind of billed as Tony's final concert. And he actually remembered not only to sing very well, because that's something that he has done very well despite, when he's not singing, being very confused as someone with Alzheimer's would be. He has seemed to have found his footing when he's singing, and that's something that's very special and kind of tear-jerking to think about. Like when you bring up music and when Gaga's with him, he seems to be a lot more lucid and a lot more kind of able to remember the lyrics and the lines, and he can sing his old songs like it was nothing, like, years gone by. And there's a moment where he remembers her name for the first time probably in a long time.
Hey, Tony.
Whoa! Lady Gaga! I like that.
That on stage can tell just fills Lady Gaga with such joy. And so I just wanted to remark on all of these things because I think the overall story of Lady Gaga and Tony's friendship is honestly even more interesting than the albums themselves. I will touch a little bit more specifically on the album, but I just wanted to sort of talk about my adoration for this powerhouse duo, this unlikely duo in the music industry who they complement each other so wonderfully. Despite Tony's age, he still sounds very competent on this record. I mean, come on, you can't knock the man. He sounds really good for his age. It's just obviously, Lady Gaga's vocal dynamic is just going to blow almost anyone out of the water. And so the songs that she has solo in particular are probably my favorite on this project. Do I Love You, which is the ultimate crooning, beautiful love ballad that just fills you with that 1930s spirit. And then also Let's Do It, which is at the beginning so soft and delicate with the piano, and then bursts into this really fun fanfare of a song with so much tongue-in-cheek in the lyricism. Cole Porter was gay, by the way. He was one of those big closeted gay artists and icons of the early 20th century. And you can tell in his sort of witty, tongue-in-cheek lyricism, I think you can tell that there is a lot of double entendre, that there is a lot of subtle digs at, having to conceal who he was as a gay man and dealing with love and relationships and the, bitterness that ensues. I mean, Love for Sale, which is another song that I really love on this project, the title track does a great job at poking fun at what true love really is, comparing it to something that can be sold at the corner store, and it's just repeating over and over again. It's a very clever way of just articulating all of the complicated, feelings of love and companionship and sex and romance that I think captured so brilliantly in his wit, in his pen. And so Lady Gaga and Tony are doing such justice to it in their delivery because they have such great back and forth, the ad-libs, the sort of way in which especially Gaga likes to sort of get Tony to smile and just like keep that bond so very much in your face. Because they're in the videos, you can just tell there's so much adoration. When Tony is doing that sketch of her, I mean, I was like, this is so heartwarming. This is the kind of content I am here to see. And, I was definitely one of those Lady Gaga fans when Cheek to Cheek came out who was going, what about art pop? You seem to have just left that in the dust. We could be doing more singles from it. Are we going to be, I'm not really here for this sort of like very classical jazz sort of thing, even though I respect it. It's not my cup of tea. But I will say that she's really turned me around in the last couple of years with just showing the versatility that she is able to flirt from different genre to genre and like going from doing a movie and this and all of these things. She's conquering every domain, and that's just absolutely brilliant. And I feel like Love for Sale is more wholesome in that way, in that I think it feels a lot more like a personal love project between those two, knowing the bittersweet nature of Tony's disease. It is sad to say, but this is pretty much billed as Tony's final record. This is his swan song project. Believe it or not, he's actually put out like 60 albums in his career. I was super shocked when I found out that statistic. So it's really tragic to hear that, but it's also it's a celebration. It's such a great note to end on for Tony. I can only imagine when he does pass, which unfortunately at 95, this far into Alzheimer's, the prognosis won't look very good. I have a grandfather who's 92, who is now in the same stage, I believe, as Tony with his Alzheimer's. It's starting to get a bit bumpy. It's not great, the prognosis in terms of how many more years he might have with us. When he does pass, I have a feeling it's going to hit Gaga insanely hard. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she really needs a lot of time away from the limelight and the media to take, all of that time to mourn and to grieve, because that's not a time where you're going to want to be pestering her little monsters for the next Lady Gaga album. Let's just put it that way. But comparing again this to Cheek to Cheek, Cheek to Cheek had a few standout songs that I really loved. Again, mostly the Gaga solos. I really loved Lush Life. Lush Life was its song for that project. And then the other one was Nature Boy, a cover that I actually fell in love with from another artist years even before that. A couple artists have covered that song, but their rendition of it was also so beautiful. And so, there were a bunch of other classics that we all knew on that record, but they were just sort of, okay, there's just them covering a classic, American songbook song. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. We get the picture. There's not much more to see here. Whereas I think Love for Sale, because they chose to hone in on one artist, there's a little bit more of a cohesive story of heart behind this project, because it's the same person writing all of these lyrics. The songs just feed off of one another, I think, a little bit more. And it feels like an album I actually want to listen to in succession in one whole sitting, more so than Cheek to Cheek did. And so that's just a reflection of, I think it's a great idea for them to just do one artist rather than just picking a bunch of different ones. It still pays off. Cheek to Cheek is a great product, but they're both comparable in that regard. But maybe I just have a little bit more affinity for this one. I don't know what to say. This one's even more romantic and just kind of fun. And there's just like I said, such a joy and, presence to this project that I can't get enough of. So all in all, I give this high marks for what it is. Again, it is not something that I am going to be listening to all of the time. It is certainly not my sort of music. It's not necessarily going to make me want to listen to a lot of 1930s, jazz standards on my own. But when Lady Gaga chooses to give us a little bit of a history lesson coupled with Tony and sort of teach us to sit down and be humbled a little bit by the way she can turn a rendition of such a great classic. I mean, these are the best versions of the songs I think that you could give. I mean, I've only heard the real versions or the originals by different artists like Ella Fitzgerald, Ethel Merman for a few of these songs. So keep in mind, I've not heard a lot of the original versions. These are the first times I'm hearing a lot of them. So I guess I can't be one to compare, but I'm always going to be sold on this version. These versions are gold to me, and I definitely enjoy them. You're the Top is a great way to round out the record. Really funny. It's great, funny lyrics. It's Still Lovely is a great way to kick off the record as well. And I Get a Kick Out of You, the single. Very, very fun. Very fun. I really can't say much else. I definitely will be getting this record for my parents for Christmas because I think they'll really enjoy it. It's something you could get your grandparents too. And I love that Lady Gaga, again, is sort of, she's going for that NPR listening crowd, but there's nothing wrong with that. She's versatile like that. She's got everyone young and old having an ear to whatever she is putting out. And of course, celebrating Tony and his wonderful career. It's such a wonderful way to celebrate the closing chapter of his remarkable journey. So I give this, a recommendation just with the, it'll brighten your day a little bit, especially in the morning. It's just a great way to sort of get the vibe of two artists who are really good at what they're doing, having a lot of fun in the studio, giving you a little bit of a music history lesson, and I think selling it better than many artists could. And so for that reason, decided I wanted to just film a little review here for that. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think of this project. Just wanted to share my overall thoughts. And I hope to see you in my next review. I will link in the description a bunch of my Lady Gaga reviews in case anyone's interested. Obviously, it's a very different kind of project to talk about when Lady Gaga's doing her other stuff, her pop stuff, than this. But it almost feels like it's two different artists. This is a different version of Lady Gaga here that we're covering. But that's, again, the beauty of her artistry. She's just got so many different coats that she can wear in the industry. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Please give it a like if you did, and subscribe if you are new here. I will see you all in my next video. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace, love, and light.